Hello. So in today's lecture, what we are going to cover is from section 56 to 59. Basically, these sections talk about transfer of shares, then transfer and transmission of shares, then punishment for personation, refusal, right against refusal to transfer, and the last one, rectification of register of members. So basically, if I call this chapter, in my notes you will find it under the head transfer and transmission of shares. You will find it under the chapter, though it is in the book, it's given under the chapter share capital and debentures. In the institute's material, if you see, it's given under the chapter share capital and debentures, but as I've already told you that, that this chapter is huge, covering from so many sections, that is starting from section 42 to ending at section 71. We have subdivided this into different parts. So this chapter that we are covering, you will find in my material under the chapter transfer and transmission of shares. Now, first, before we go into this, let us understand. So let us understand, before we start with the chapter, what does the word transfer and what does the word transmission mean. Now, transfer means it is a voluntary act. When we say transfer, transfer is basically a voluntary act. But when we say transmission, transmission is a compulsory act. So I repeat again, transfer is a voluntary act, whereas transmission is a compulsory act. Now, what do we mean by compulsory act? It is because of the operation of law that it happens. It is because of operation of law that transmission happens. What do we mean by this? Let us say Mr. A holds 1000 shares of, let us say, Reliance Industries Limited. Right? Mr. A holds 1000 shares of Reliance Industries Limited. Now, on a future date, he decides that he does not want to keep the shares. On a future date, he decides that he doesn't want to keep the shares, he wants to sell off the shares. Can he decide to sell the shares? I repeat again, Mr. A, he holds 1000 shares of Reliance Industries Limited. However, later on, at some point of time, he feels that he wants to sell off the shares and recover the money on the shares. Can he do that? Yes. So, he sells the shares to Mr. B. Can he do this? Yes. So, he sells the shares to Mr. B. Obviously, when I say sells the shares, obviously for a consideration. So, this is what we mean by transfer of shares. So, basically, it is a voluntary act where for consideration, the owner of the shares sells off his shares to another person. So I repeat again, basically what is transfer of shares, that what it means is that by my own choice, for some consideration, I sell my shares to another person. This is what we mean by transfer of shares. Now let us say same case, Mr. A holds 1000 shares of Reliance Industries Limited. Now what happens is, Mr. A is swaha, right? He is no more, he is mar gaya, he is swaha. So when Mr. A is swaha, what will happen to his shares? His shares will pass on to whom? Pass to his legal heirs, correct or not? Yes. So when the shares are passed on to the legal heirs because of his death, we call this as transmission. So can we say transmission is due to operation of law? Yes, because of the death of the member, the shares are transferred to the legal heirs. So this is what? This is transmission. Transmission basically takes place either by death or by insolvency. Transmission of shares either takes place by death or insolvency. In death, the shares will pass on to the legal heirs, whereas in case of insolvency, the shares will pass on to the official receivers or assignees, who will now hold the shares. They will try to sell it off, recover the money and pay off the debts of the insolvent member. So I repeat again, when we say transfer, it is a voluntary act. I by choice decide to sell my shares to another person. On the other hand, what is transmission? Due to the effect of law, the shares are transferred to another person, either due to death or insolvency. I hope it's clear. Yes? Ma'am, can I transfer my shares like this? Yes. Yes, because as I told you, it is my right. It is, in fact, if you remember, when we were discussing the definitions of private and public company, we had also studied there that the shares are freely transferable. For private company, I can put restrictions, but public, it's freely transferable. In fact, section 44, though it is no longer in your section, syllabus, they have removed this section, but section 44 says that shares and debentures, like any other movable property. In fact, you must have done this in foundation also. Any other movable property is freely transferable. So you have a right to transfer the shares of the company, and it is even in fact given in law. So what is transfer of shares? I by choice decide to transfer my shares to another person. What is transmission? It takes place by the operation of law. So it is not given, these things are not given in the material. So I want you to write this down and then we will move ahead. Done? Now, can I just go and say, company, I want to sell my shares and it's done? No. In fact, if you remember when we were doing register of members, rather when I was doing members, the definition says that your name should be entered in the register of members. So for the transferee to become the member of the company, his name has to be entered. That is, the transferor's name has to be removed and the transferee's name has to be incorporated. Correct or not? Yes. So for that we have to inform the company, right? Now I say, listen company, I call the company and I say, listen company, I have sold off the shares to such and such person, please register the shares in his name. Don't you think the company wants some written evidence, a written a declaration that you want to? Yes. So just saying isn't enough. So we have to give in writing to the company that I want to transfer my shares to such and such person. So we need a what? We need a transfer deed. This transfer deed is in SH4. And this transfer deed has to be stamped. Right? This transfer deed has to be stamped. So I repeat again, first I need a transfer deed and this transfer deed is in SH4. If you remember, every form number, the name of the form is derived from the name of the chapter. So that is the reason it is SH4. So I repeat again, I need a transfer deed where I am going to give a declaration to the company that please company, I want to sell my shares to such and such person. So this transfer deed, that is SH4, has to be first stamped. It has to be executed. Basically, stamping means the authority, whoever is the authority, will stamp it. That means what? That the validity of this transfer deed will start from the day it is stamped. You cannot use it for years and years and years. So that validity of this transfer deed will start from the day it is stamped. Once the stamping is done and we get the transfer deed back, we have to fill in the details of the transferee. We have to fill in the details of the transferee. What details? Name, address, occupation, and obviously number of shares. Right? So I repeat again, this transfer deed has to be stamped. Then we have to, once the stamping, please understand, the stamping means the validity of the instrument, how long it is valid. So the date of the stamping, from that day starts the validity of the instrument. So the transfer deed has to be stamped. It has, the details of this has to be filled up. What details of the transferee? What details? His name, his address, his occupation, and the number of shares that he is taking up. And this transfer deed along with the share certificate. Ma'am, I have not received the share certificate yet. So in that case, you have received the letter of allotment. Ma'am, how can I not receive the share certificate? Because the share certificate is given to you within 2 months of allotment, not immediately. So the share certificate or the letter of allotment. So I repeat again, this transfer deed along with the share certificate, because how will the company know whose shares are transferred? Right? And they will obviously cancel this certificate and issue a new certificate in name of the transferee. So the share certificate, or if I don't have the share certificate because I have not yet received it, the letter of allotment, this has to be sent to the company within 60 days. Within 60 days of stamping or of execution, whatever you say. So you understand, this gives the validity. From the day it is stamped, we get the validity of the instrument. So I repeat again, I have to execute my stamp deed, that is get it stamped, transfer deed, that is get it stamped. Once that is done, I have to fill in the details of the transferee, the name, address, occupation, the number of shares. This along with the share certificate, or if I don't have the share certificate, with the letter of allotment shall be sent to the company within 60 days from the date of execution. Is it clear to everyone? Yes. So basically what I have to do, I have to get my transfer deed stamped. Within 60 days I have to fill it up with the company along with the share certificate or the letter of allotment. Now, if the share certificate is lost, right, if the share certificate or the letter of allotment is lost or received after the time, what will happen? If the share certificate is lost, let us say I lost the share certificate in the transit. In transit I lost it. Or let us say I received it after the 60 days. Will the board register the transfer? Board may register the transfer on terms of indemnity as it deems fit. So I repeat again, if the share certificate is lost or it is received after the time, in that case, if the board is okay, if the board, please understand when we say board here, I am talking about the board of directors. If they are okay, they may register the transfer. Subject to, they may register, but if I put it in simple terms, after getting an indemnity bond from the transferor. What it means is, let's say the share certificate is lost and you come and say, I lost the share certificate, please transfer the shares in his name. But you were trying to do some fraud with the company. Later, the person who was actually the owner of the shares, he comes with the certificate. The company says, we have already registered. So the actual owner says, why did you register it? Because the person said that he lost it, he gave us all the proof. Now the actual owner will take the damages from the company or not? Yes. So in that case, company is at a loss. So what the company will do is, the company will take an indemnity bond from the transferor. If you remember indemnity bond in contracts of indemnity, we had done it. They will take an indemnity bond from the transferor that tomorrow, due to any lost certificate or due to delayed transfer, if the company suffers any damage, the company is going to recover it from you. So I repeat again, what this basically means is that this indemnity bond, that is, they will take it from the transferor, that tomorrow someone else claims to be the owner of these shares by providing the original certificate. Then if the company suffers any damage, you have to give that damage to the company. I hope it is clear to everyone. Yes, this entire thing is clear to everyone. Yes. Now, let us say, you remember this Mr. A's son was dead. Mr. A was dead and the shares pass on to his legal heirs. Yes or no? So my question is, can the legal heirs get himself registered as a member? Can the legal heirs get himself registered as a member? Yes or no? Yes. Obviously, because now the legal heirs are the members, so they can make an application to the company, give the share certificate, the death certificate and the identity proof that they are the legal heirs or entitled to receive the shares, and then they can get their names registered. Can they do that? Yes. So the legal heirs can get themselves registered as a member. Do they have to follow this procedure? No. For such registration, they are not required to follow this procedure. So I repeat again, if a member is dead and his legal heirs want to get the shares registered in their name, that is, they want their name to be entered in the register of members, they don't have to follow this SH4 and everything. Nothing in this will apply to them. So no such procedure will apply to the legal representatives or the nominees of such shareholder. Is it clear? So basically understand, in death it goes to the legal heirs or the nominee. What is nominee? I can mention that in case of my death, this person will receive my shares. So the shares will go to this legal heirs or the nominee, as the case may be. And when they get the shares registered in their name, they don't have to follow this procedure of SH4. Is it clear to everyone? Are you sure about it? Yes. So I always believe in charts because that's the best way to study. I want you to write this down, easier for you to study and remember. Then we will go to the next part. Chalo, I guess done. Yes. So did you understand this? Yes. So I repeat again, in SH4, which will be stamped, we fill in the details of the transferee, the name, address, occupation, and the number of shares, which is along with the share certificate, or if no share certificate, along with the letter of allotment, is what? Is sent to the company within 60 days of execution. If it is a registration of legal heirs in case of transmission, we don't need to follow this procedure. Then further, if the share certificate or the letter of allotment is lost or delayed, then we can ask the board to register the transfer, who may take an indemnity bond on terms they think necessary and then register the transfer. Is it clear to everyone? Yes? Now, let us say Mr. A holds, we had already discussed this, right? 1000 shares of Reliance Industries Limited, right? Mr. A holds 1000 shares of Reliance Industries Limited. Now what happened is that Mr. A is dead and the shares pass on to his son, Mr. S. Now tell me, obviously we know Mr. S will now become if he is the nominee or the legal heir, if no nominee is mentioned, Mr. S will get the shares. Now can we say this Mr. S may register himself as a member? Yes or no? Yes. Can I say that Mr. S has an option to register himself as a member? Yes or no? Yes. On the other hand, Mr. S is like, I don't want to keep these shares. I already have so many shares in Reliance. I don't want to keep these shares. Rather, I want to buy shares of another company. So let me sell off these shares. Can he do that? I repeat again, Mr. S, who has now become the holder of the shares. Please, holder of the shares, he is not the member. I told you the difference in members and shareholders in the chapter members, right? Membership. So I repeat again, he becomes the holder of the shares. Now can we say he can register himself as a member? Yes or no? Instead, can he decide to sell off the shares? Yes. So he may either register himself as a member or sell, rather we can say transfer the shares to any other person. Yes or no? Yes. Can he do this? Yes. So he can either register himself as a member or he can sell the shares to any other person. Now for selling the shares, Mr. A passed on the shares to Mr. S due to the death. Then he will first register himself with the company and then transfer the shares to some Mr. let's say buyer B. Don't you think it's a bulky procedure? Yes. So the act says that Mr. S, you don't have to register yourself as a member first. You can directly transfer the shares to Mr. B. So I repeat again, what happens is when Mr. A is dead, the shares is passed on to his son, Mr. S. Now he wants to sell the shares to Mr. B. So he has to get himself registered and then he will transfer the shares to Mr. B. That's such a bulky procedure and a very long procedure also. So the company says, no problem Mr. S, you don't have to register yourself as a member. You can directly go and transfer the shares to Mr. B and it is absolutely valid. It is absolutely valid. So in case of transmission where the person means the legal heirs is not the holder of the shares, may transfer the shares to any other person and it shall be deemed as if he was a holder of the shares on such a day. That means what? Mr. S need not register himself as a member. He can directly go and transfer the shares to Mr. B. So where the person is, that is the legal heirs, is not the holder of the shares, may transfer the shares to any other person. That means without getting himself registered, he may transfer the shares to any other person, and it shall be deemed as if he was a holder of the shares as on that day. That means what? Even without registering, he can transfer the shares and it will be regarded as if he was the holder of the shares. That means the transfer will be as valid as if it was made by a holder of the shares. Is it clear to everyone? Yes. So the transfer would be as valid as if it was a what? Transfer by the holder of the shares. So wow, this pen really has to play tricks. Whew. So I hope this is clear. This is transfer of shares by legal heirs, right? By legal heirs or in case of transmission. I hope it's clear. Yes, I want you to write this down before we go to the next part.
Thousand shares which are partly paid. So when I say which are partly paid, transfer date on the application of transferor alone. On the application of transferor alone for partly paid up shares. Right? For partly paid up shares. Now, the moment when we say business, we should be very focused on where the funds come from. So, the first thing that should come to their mind is about that is why? Because the application is made by the transferor alone. That means he might not have informed the transferee that the seller has to pay. So the transferee may be under the belief that the seller will pay up and later it will be asked to pay for the rest of the money. Meanwhile, the system that is listed might have taken the entire amount from which the lease to let the seller to pay it up. And in future, he may have to pay the rest of the money. So the moment the company receives the transfer in the application of the transferor alone, it relates to partly paid up shares. It should immediately send a notice to that means we have received this benefit. You know they are partly paid up shares. So the moment the company receives the transfer date, it immediately and relates to partly paid up shares. There is a chance that the company will pay money. Within 2 weeks of this notice, he must notify. If there is no refusal to transfer or there is no reply, that is no what? The company will register the transferor. So basically, this is only for partly paid up shares when the transfer deed is sent by the transferor alone and relates to partly paid up shares. The company has to send a notice to the transferee. Within 2 weeks, the transferee can relay objections that it should not be transferred. If they do not lay any objections, they say, okay, we are fine, or they do not reply only, then the company will register the transfer. So this is in case of partly paid up shares. Now tell me one thing, will this rule apply in case application is made by transferee? No, application made by transferee means he is already aware. So this procedure will not apply. This applies only when it is done by the transferor alone. I hope it's clear to everyone. Yes, so this is transfer of partly paid up shares. Yes, please write it down, then we'll go again. Done? So basically we have completed section 56 here, and let us wind up the entire thing. When under section 56 they talk about transfer of shares, where I can voluntarily transfer my shares to another person. Now when we say transfer of shares, when we talk about transfer of shares, form SH4 has to be executed, that is stamped. Once it is done, it has to be filled up, that is the details of the transferee like name, address, occupation, number of shares, and along with the share certificate or letter of allotment within 60 days. Please, this recap is supposed to be done between the two of us, so I want everyone to speak. Within 60 days, it has to be filed with the company along with the share certificate or letter of allotment. If it is transmission of shares and the legal heirs want to register, this procedure is not up. They don't have to follow this procedure. Then, if the share certificate or letter of allotment is lost or received after time, the board may register the transfer subject to a indemnity as it deems fit. Now tell me, can the legal heirs transfer the shares without registering their name? Yes, and it shall be deemed as if they were the holder of the shares on that day. If the transfer of shares is for partly paid up shares, where the application is made by the transferor alone, the company has to send a notice to the transferee and they will wait for 2 weeks. Within this 2 weeks, if the transferee refuses the transfer, they will not transfer. If the transferee does not refuse the transfer, they will make the transfer, or he does not reply, they will make the transfer. I hope it was clear to everyone. Yes? Now, please understand, when we say transfer of shares, there are two stages here. Okay, there are two stages here between the parties and for the company. Something like this we've also done in dividend. If you already received that, I mean if you already watched that video, something like this was also done in the dividend part. As between the parties, the ownership is transferred immediately the moment we decide to transfer it. Sale of Goods Act, specific goods in a deliverable state, ownership is transferred immediately, right? So, as between the parties, the moment I tell you I want to sell you my shares and you agree to purchase, the transfer is already done. But as far as the company is concerned, for the company it takes place only when it is registered in the members register. That is, when the company approves and they put the name in the register, then only it takes place. And there is a time gap between this. So between this, if there is a time gap, what happens to all the rights on the shares? Dividend, bonus, rights issue, what happens to those rights? Now, as per those rights, it will be given to the transferee if transferor has instructed, or if the transferor receives it, must give it to the transferee. That means, because for the company he is still the owner of the share, so if the transferor receives it, he must give it to the transferee, or it will be kept in abeyance. What that means? Suspension. It will be kept in suspension separately, and only once the transfer is registered, they will give it to the transferee, and if it is not registered, they will give it back to the transferor. So I repeat again, in case of transfer of shares, as between the parties, the transfer takes place immediately. But when we talk about the company, for the company it takes place only when the company makes the registration of it. So as between this time period, what happens to the rights? If the transferor gives instruction to the company that these rights should be given to the transferee will receive it. On the other hand, if it is still pending, the transfer deed is still pending, and the transferor receives the rights, he will give it to the transferee. Or they will keep it in suspension, abeyance. Abeyance means suspension, that is, unless the declaration is made, as in if the transfer will take place, they will give it to the transferee, or if there is no transfer, they will give it to the transferor. This is what will happen to all the rights in this period. I hope it's clear to everyone. Yes, so this was not in section 56, but we have cleared. This is given, actually it's given under section 126 in dividend. So I hope it's clear to everyone. Moving on to the next section, section 58. What section 58 says is that
What will happen if the company refuses to transfer the shares? The first question is, can company refuse to transfer shares? The first question is, can company refuse to transfer the shares? In case of a private company or in case of a public company. Let us first talk about a private company. Can the company refuse the transfer of? Well, if you remember the definition of a private company, it says restricts the transferability of shares. That means I can put restrictions. So the restrictions can be on conditions specified in articles or conditions specified by board of, that is decided by board of directors. So either in the articles only they will give the conditions on which the restrictions can be done, or the board of directors may decide the grounds on which restrictions can be done. For example, the private company giving the seller is selling the member is selling the shares to a competitor. Partly paid up shares transferred to beggar. So there are reasons they may actually refuse. But when we talk about a public company, please understand, for a public company the shares are freely transferable, and competitor, no competitor, these are not sufficient grounds to refuse transfer. The shares are freely transferable and your company cannot restrict the transferability of shares. But let's say the transfer deed is not properly filled up. Can the company refuse to transfer? Yes, that's the reason they can refuse. But otherwise, in case of a public company, the shares are freely transferable and no one can stop the transfer of shares. But as I told you that if the transfer deed is not properly filled up, they can refuse. Or if it is not as per the provisions of FEMA, SEBI, SECRA, then they can refuse the transfer of shares. For example, FEMA, there is a cap for foreign investments. If the cap is, it goes beyond that cap. For FEMA says that you cannot transfer the shares to any person who resides in Pakistan. But if the member wants to transfer the shares to a person who is in Pakistan, can the company refuse? Yes. If it is on those grounds, they can refuse. Otherwise, for a public company, shares are freely transferable. Though in case of a private company, they can put restrictions. Now, when the company refuses to transfer the shares, it should within 30 days inform the transferor and the transferee that we are not going to register the transfer. So I repeat again, if the company refuses to register the transfer of shares, so I repeat again, the company may refuse to register the transfer, and if it refuses, within 30 days they should inform the transferor and the transferee that we will not register the shares. Now, if this is done, will the transferee sit and cry, "Ayo, I'm not getting the shares, ayo, I'm not getting the shares"? Will you do all these? Don't do natak. For everything there is something given in law which will protect you. So, if this refusal is done, the transferee may appeal. The transferee may appeal to the tribunal. Within how many days? Within 30 days from the date of notice in case of a private company, and within 60 days from the date of notice in case of a public company. They may appeal to the home tribunal. So I repeat again, when the company refuses to register the transfer, within 30 days it should inform the transferor and the transferee. The transferee may appeal to the tribunal within 30 days from the date of notice in case of a private company, or within 60 days from the date of notice in case of a public company. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? So I repeat again, for a private company, the time for filing an appeal is 30 days from the date of notice. For a public company, time for filing of appeal is 60 days from the date of notice. Is it clear to everyone? Are you sure? Yes. So I repeat again, if the company refuses to register the transfer, it should within 30 days inform the transferor and the transferee. The transferee may file an appeal with the tribunal within 30 days in case of a private company, within 30 days of the notice, and in case of a public company within 60 days. If the company fails to inform, if the company refuses but fails to inform, that is within 30 days, it does not give any intimation of refusal, then in that case the transferee may appeal in case of a private company, in case of a public company. Now, how many days were there? 30 plus 30, correct? So, if the company refuses but fails to inform about the refusal, the transferee may appeal in case of a private company within 60 days from the date of deposit of transfer deed with the company. So basically the time is same, but here within 30 days from the date of notice, here it is within 60 days, 30 plus 30, it is 60 days from the date of deposit of transfer deed with the company. And in case of a public company, again how many? 30 plus 60, which is within 90 days from the date of deposit of transfer deed with the company. They may, what will they do? They may appeal to the tribunal. So I repeat again, I have to take actions if I am refused. So when the company refuses to transfer the shares within 30 days, the company shall inform the transferor and the transferee that we are not going to register your transfer. On such refusal, the transferee may appeal within 30 days in case of a private company, within 60 days in case of a public company from the date of notice to the tribunal. On the other hand, if the company fails to inform, the transferee may appeal in case of a private company within 60 days from the date of deposit of the deed. In case of a public company within 90 days from the date of deposit, they have to appeal to the tribunal. Now, what will the tribunal do? What will the tribunal do? The tribunal may either dismiss the order, not justified, dismissed, or it may direct the transfer, that is, it will tell the company transfer the shares, or it may direct the company to rectify its registers, right? Once this order is given, within 10 days the company should fulfill the orders. The company should fulfill the orders. So, the orders of tribunal, as soon as it is given, what orders can be given? They may dismiss the appeal. Dismiss the appeal. Once the appeal is dismissed, we don't have to do anything. We'll just sit and cry and go. or it may ask the company register the transfer and make rectifications in the register, as in remove the name of the transferor, put the name of the transferee. Once this order is passed, within 10 days the company has to fulfill the order of the tribunal. That means if today the order is passed, within 10 days the transfer should take place. If you fail to fulfill, the orders of the tribunal, right? If you fail to fulfill the order, obviously there has to be some fine, right? If you fail to fulfill the orders of the tribunal, so obviously the order is given, and if you fail to fulfill the orders of the tribunal, the person who contravenes the order shall be punishable with imprisonment, which shall not be less than 1 year but can extend up to 3 years, and it is both. So, if the orders of the tribunal are not fulfilled, the person who contravenes the order shall be liable to an imprisonment not less than 1 year, can extend up to 3 years, and fine not less than 1 lakh, can extend up to 5 lakh. So, I hope it's clear. So, the tribunal, when it gets this appeal, it may either dismiss the appeal or direct that the transfer should take place, or the subsequent rectification of the register. As soon as this order is passed, within 10 days the company should fulfill the orders of the tribunal. If they fail to do so, the person who has contravened, minimum 1 year up to 3 years, and fine minimum 1 lakh up to 5 lakh. I hope it's clear to everyone. For those who want to write it down, I always find reading with charts much more easier. So I have this habit of doing everything with charts. So I'll just wait for you all to finish off writing, then we'll move to the next part. Okay, I guess done. Yes, can we move to the next part? This entire chapter you'll find I have actually done it in charts. This chapter is much more easier to study if it is in charts. So the next section, that is section 59, which talks about rectification of register. Which talks about rectification of register. Which register? Of members. If I put it in a very simple word, it simply means if the name of a person is wrongfully entered or removed. If I put it in a very simple word, if the name of a person is wrongfully entered or removed from the register of members, that is what we are talking about here. Now, what does this mean? If the name of a person is without sufficient cause entered in the register of members. That means I am not a member of the company, but still my name is entered in the register. I repeat again, if the name of a person is without sufficient cause entered in the register of members, that means I am not a member, but my name is still there in the register of members. Or after the name is entered is without sufficient cause removed from the register of members. That means I am still the member of the company, but my name is removed. That is, I am still the member of the company, but my name is removed from the register without any reason. So, on third case, there is unnecessary delay in registering the fact that a person has become or ceased to be a member of the company. That means there is a transfer or transmission of shares, but that has not been recorded in the register. So basically here we are talking about three things. I am not a member of the company, but my name is entered in the register. I am a member of the company, I am still a member, and without reason my name is removed. And the third case is that there has been a transfer or transmission of shares which is not yet recorded. In that case, the person aggrieved or any member of the company or the company, that means these people can go and appeal. Please understand, you cannot just say, I remove my name, cut my name, enter. No, there has to be an order from the tribunal for such rectification. Please understand, this rectification cannot be done on our own. This rectification, because it's already entered or not entered. So there I need the approval of the tribunal to make any rectifications. So I repeat again, the person aggrieved or any member of the company or the company itself may appeal to whom will we appeal? Tribunal. May appeal to tribunal or any competent authority. See, what happens is, in India it is tribunal, but if it is a foreign register of members, if you remember in registers we had done this, if it is a foreign register of members, tribunal will not have an right to pass an order there. There will be some competent authority. So that competent authority, we will make an appeal to them. After we make an appeal, they will either what? Dismiss the appeal. Remember, same thing. Or order for what? A rectification. That is, they will pass an order that such rectification must be done. Once this order is passed, Within how many days? Gone again. Within how many days? Within 10 days. The company should what? Follow the orders. That is, the proper orders must be fulfilled. The orders, whatever rectification they have said, within 10 days it should be done. If they fail to do this, company minimum 1 lakh up to 5 lakh, and every officer of the company who is in default, right? Every officer of the company who is in default shall be punishable with minimum 1 year up to 3 years, or 1 lakh to 5 lakh, or both. Section 58 and 59, did you get the difference? In 58 it was and, here it is or. Is it clear? So I repeat the entire thing again. If the name of a person has been entered in the register of members even though he is not a member, or after he has become a member his name is there but it is removed without reason, or there is a delay in making a registration of any transfer of shares or transmission of shares, the person aggrieved or any member of the company or the company itself can appeal to the tribunal, or in case of foreign registers, to the competent authority. They will either dismiss or order for rectification. Within 10 days, the company shall follow the orders. If they fail to follow, the company minimum 1 lakh can go up to 5 lakh. Every officer in default minimum 1 year, extend up to 3 years, or 1 lakh to 5 lakh, or both. Is it clear to everyone? Ma'am, what is the time for filing this appeal? Remember, there is no time for filing this appeal. Any time I can file it. Is it clear to everyone? Yes? So please. Okay, I guess done. Yes, can we move to the next part? Section 57 was left. So, section 57 basically talks about personation. That is punishment for seriously punishment for personation. Now, what it says is, if a person personates. What is personate? Let us say you have a big time crush on this girl, but you don't have the courage also to message her. So, you ask your friend to message on your behalf. So, in your name, he starts talking to her, and finally in your name, he goes and meets her also. And now she is believing that your friend is you. This is personate. This is what personate? To pretend to be someone, right? To pretend to be someone else. If a person personates to be the owner of any security, that means what? He is not the owner of the security, but he pretends to be the owner of the security or any share, warrant or coupons. Share warrants, basically you don't have it in your syllabus, as in it's not given under the sections also. Share warrant is basically you surrender your certificate and they give you warrant. Now what happens when they give you this warrant is, your name is removed from the register of members. You are no longer the member of the company. Then ma'am, why will I do this? But you still will get the dividend on the shares, but on those shares, but you will not be the member. That is, you will not get the rights of a member. So I repeat again, if a person, even though he is not the owner, but he represents himself as an owner of any security or any share warrant, and by doing this, he obtains such security or warrant, that is, he gets from the company such warrant or security, or he receives money on such security or warrant. That means what? A person, he is not the owner of the securities or he is not the owner of the warrants, but he represents himself as if he is an owner, and by representing, he gets those securities or he gets money on those security, for example dividend, interest, whatever. So he either gets those security or he gets the money on those security. He has done fraud or not? Yes. So he will be punishable. Such person will be punishable by imprisonment, which shall not be less than 1 year but can extend up to 3 years, and fine not less than 1 lakh can extend up to 5 lakh. So even I am not the owner of any security, I go and pretend to be the owner, and by pretending this, I obtain those securities or I receive money on those securities. I will be liable to imprisonment not less than 1 year but can extend up to 3 years, and also fine minimum 1 lakh can extend up to 5 lakh. I hope it's clear to everyone. Yes. So this is the punishment for personation. What is personation? I am representing some other person which I am not. Is it clear? Yes. So please just write this down. Done? Chalo, done. With this we have completed from section 56 to 56, 57, 58, 59. Now, these are not given under the Act, but some concepts which have been adopted, though not maybe in CA Inter it's not there, but still I want you to know about them. Okay. The first one, what is a blank transfer? What is a blank transfer? The name of the transferor is there. The name of the transferee is not there. Basically what happens is, let's see, I want to sell my shares to you. Now you want to keep the shares, no problem, but you actually don't want to keep the shares, you further want to sell the shares to another person. Now what happens is, what we will do, I'll first give it to you, we'll pay the stamp duty, get it registered, then again finally you will go and sell the shares to that third person. That third person also wanted to sell it to someone else. So now you will register it in his name and then finally he will say. So it is such a bulky procedure and we have to pay stamp duty every point of time. So they came up with this concept of blank transfer. So what happens is, A is the owner of the shares, he will write his name, he will sign it, but he will, without filling in the details of B, he will give it to B. Now B, because he further wants to sell the shares, he will not fill up his name, he will give it to C. And so on it goes on. E now wants to keep the shares. So what will E do? E will now, in place of the transferee, fill in all his details, sign it and give it to the company. So all these intermediate parties will disappear. A will be the transferor, E will be the transferee. This is what will happen. But please, this cannot go on for years and years. Again, the validity is the same. What? Within 60 days of execution. So when A and B get it executed, within 60 days, E have to fill it up. And this is a blank transfer. So basically, what is the advantage of the blank transfer? I don't have to pay stamp duty again and again, right? I don't have to pay stamp duty again and again. That is one of the privileges. And I don't have to get it registered every point of time. So time saving. That is what is the benefit of the blank transfer. So I repeat again, what is basically a blank transfer? The name of the transferor is there, but the name of the transferee is not there. The final transferee who wants to keep the shares will put in his details and file it with the company. So then he will become the transferee. However, the validity is the same within 60 days of execution. I hope it's clear. Yes? Forged transfer. Okay, I want 2 minutes of your attention here. A is the owner of the shares. A is the owner of the shares. One day he was just sitting and he was, looking into the documents and everything, taking what are his total shareholdings. He was trying to calculate his income and everything. Suddenly his friend Mr. B comes. And they start talking. Mr. B is like, I'm feeling very hungry. Could you please make a cup of tea for me? He's like, yeah, just give me 5 minutes. I'll get it for you. Sit. Mr. A puts all those documents in his locker, but does not lock it, just closes it and goes to the kitchen. Now Mr. B, he is an expert in what? In copying others' signatures. So what he does is he slowly goes to that locker, takes out the share certificate, keeps it in his jacket and goes and sits back as if he never moved from that place. Mr. A gets the tea, he has it fast so that there is no noise from the paper and he runs away. Later, he forges A's signature on the transfer deed and fills it up with the company in his name. So, A, there is a transfer of shares from A to B on a forged transfer deed. So first of all, my question is, will B get the ownership of the shares? Will B get the ownership of the shares? No. Please understand, forgery is a nullity. It is void ab initio. When something is valid, we can say forgery is something which is not valid at all. It is null and void from the beginning. So forgery is a nullity and does not convey any title. Right? Please understand, if something is given by my genuine signature, it is valid. But if something is given from my forged signature, that validity is not there only from the time it was made. The transfer deed itself was not valid because my signature was forged on it. So forgery is a nullity and does not convey any title. So will B get the ownership? No. Can A compel the company to restore his name? Yes or no? Yes. He can force the company, that company put back my name. When he does that, the company will strike off B's name and put back A's name. So, I repeat again, forgery is a nullity. So, the moment a forged transfer deed is filed, the owner continues to be the owner and he can compel the company to remove the other person's name and to put back his name. Can he do that? Yes. When the company gets such an application, the company has to remove the name of the other person and put back the name of what? Is it clear to everyone? Yes. Forgery is something which is void from the beginning. So when it is void ab initio, can it ever be valid? No. So forgery is a nullity. We can never make it valid. Is it clear to everyone? Are you sure about it? Yes. Now let us come to a second stage in this scenario. Now coming to the next case, what happened was B sold the shares to C. And who is C? An innocent buyer, buying in good faith. Now can A force the company to put his name back? Yes. Even when the shares are sold to C, A can compel the company to put his name back. He can still compel the company to restore his name. Now, what will the company do? Strike off C's name and put back A's name. Now listen carefully. Can C go and tell the company, you only showed that B had a share certificate and that is the reason I took it. If B did not have a share certificate, I wouldn't have taken it. But because you only showed that B has a share certificate, I took it. How can you do this to me? Can he do that? Yes. So can C claim damages? Yes. C can claim the damages from whom? Obviously from the company, because here company is at fault, no, by giving a transfer. But why is the company at fault? Because of the person who filed the forged transfer deed. The company will pay, but the company will recover the damage from whom? Company will recover the damage from the person who filed the forged transfer deed. So they will take it back. Company is not going to suffer damages. They will take it back from the person who filed the forged transfer deed. Is it clear? So if a forged transfer is made, the owner still has a right to become the member. If such transferee further transfers the shares, even the bona fide purchaser will not get a good title and the owner, the true owner, can still claim his name in the register. However, the bona fide purchaser has a right to claim damages from the company, who will in turn recover the damages from the person who had filed the forged transfer deed. Is it clear? I want you to write this down. Chalo, I guess it's done. With this, we have completed all the required topics of this chapter, all the sections and the other topics also. So, as I always tell you, revise before you go to the next chapter. I hope whatever we discussed today was of help to you. If it was, do leave a like and a comment so that we also feel motivated to keep making more videos of the same kind. Happy learning and stay motivated. Thank you so much.